Now at 6, new details are released on a Joplin crash that killed a teenager. Plus, we'll learn about a proposed constitutional amendment in Kansas that would require sheriffs to be elected, and why Missouri and Arkansas will see more funding for road and bridge projects.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A Joplin teen is dead after a car filled with juveniles crashes near Grand Falls. This is KOAM News at 6. It happened shortly before midnight Saturday night near Deer Drive and Dove Drive in Joplin. Officers at the scene found 2 of the teens ejected from the vehicle. One was pronounced dead at the hospital. The other had only moderate injuries. 2 other occupants suffered minor injuries. The midterm election is less than a month away. There are a multitude of issues on the November ballot for Kansans. KOAM's Jalen Banks explains one ballot question that could impact your local sheriff's elections.
The midterm election is just weeks away. One issue on the ballot in Kansas is Constitutional Amendment Question 2. David Groves, Sheriff of Cherokee County, had this to say.
The passage of this amendment enshrines the right for citizens to elect their sheriff in the state constitution, which means that right is given and cannot be taken away, where since it's currently not in the Constitution, the ability to vote for a sheriff can be taken away. And we want to make sure that Kansans have the ability and the right to vote for their sheriff for generations to come.
Some Kansans believe the right should stay in the hands of the citizens.
In my honest opinion, I feel like us as a society should be able to have that input, just based on like how we feel as, for them as sheriffs, and then also as us as a society and how they help us.
Philip Wesley of Riverton, Kansas, has some hesitations.
I feel that they should have been appointed a long time ago. But that's just my feeling.
Why exactly do you feel as if they should have been appointed?
Because a sheriff can be a sheriff for years, many years to come, and it shouldn't be like that. Times change, so why come the sheriff can't?
In Southeast Kansas, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
Midterm elections are November 8th. A key deadline is even sooner in Kansas. The deadline to register to vote in the Sunflower State is tomorrow. The registration deadlines in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas have already passed. Let's check in with Doug Hetty heading into a cold night.
Yeah, it's been chilly all day long, quite a bit cooler today compared to what we did see yesterday, and tonight pushing record lows. We're going to have a freeze warning the entire viewing area. We're going to see our first frost, first freeze, so if you do have plants outside, you probably want to bring them in. Clear skies, a little bit windy for us today. The winds will slowly die off as we go through the rest of the evening hours, but down to 50 in Lamar, 51 in Cassville, Grand Lake 54, Chanute also sitting at about 54. We have these northerly winds at about 10 to 20 all day long. It's going to stay somewhat breezy as we work through the overnight hours. 49 here shortly at 7, 38 by midnight, down to 30 at 6 a.m. Look at that, overnight low, 28 degrees. It even gets colder tomorrow and tomorrow night. Those details coming up here in just a bit.
We'll see you then. Arkansas and Missouri both will see more money invested in their bridges and roads in 2023. It's coming from a Federal Highway Administration fund. Reporter Noah Tucker breaks down the numbers.
T's Barbecue in Harrison sees a lot of traffic every single day.
We do about 400 pounds of meat a day. And there's a lot of traffic that comes in and out here.
Similar to the bridge right out front of the business over Lake Harrison.
More than 70–80% of our customers come across that bridge, and it's a busy bridge. It usually stays backed up with the traffic light, most of the day.
A $7 million project will soon begin to replace the old bridge, aided by state funding.
It will be a 5-lane bridge. It will have sidewalks on both sides, what we're looking at. So it will be an improvement over what we have right now.
And just this week, Arkansas found out it will be getting a big investment for such improvements, $771 million in 2023, money that can go towards projects like the Lake Harrison Bridge.
It is definitely needed. The bridge is deteriorated in many ways. It's rough. The patchwork that they do on it usually only lasts for a few weeks, maybe a month.
Similar money going to Missouri, which will receive almost $1.5 billion next year. We reached out to MoDOT to see why Missouri is getting more. The answer is in the numbers. According to the Federal Highway Administration, all indicators show Missouri roads are in worse condition. Funding is needed for big projects, and even if it means a slowdown in business, improvements are welcomed.
I feel like they can deter traffic around. Most of it then will come right in front of our restaurant. I don't think that it's going to be that big of an issue with it being closed down, but I'm always one that anything positive that's going on at the park or around our area, I'm all for it.
Those federal dollars for both states are for projects in 2023. Early work on the project at Lake Harrison Bridge has already started. Major construction is scheduled to start in January of next year. A new study finds significant radioactive contamination at an elementary school in St. Louis. Dust samples from inside Jana Elementary were contaminated with enough radioactive material to cause significant injury to people if inhaled or ingested. Radioactive material is believed to have come from nearby Coldwater Creek, which was contaminated by nuclear waste from weapons produced in the area during World War II. In a statement, the school district says it'll consult with attorneys and experts to determine the next steps for the school. Missouri State Auditor Nicole Galloway today released a report on the State Department of Conservation. The audit examined security controls designed to protect data. Galloway gave the department a rating of good. There were still some issues noted, however, such as old accidents not being reported in a timely manner. The department also doesn't require users to periodically change passwords, which can cause security risks. Coming up, we're going to check out a project in Joplin to recreate the city's landmarks using Legos. Plus, why a church choir from Jefferson City was at Joplin's Mercy Park Sculpture Garden. Some young people in Joplin will soon start rebuilding Joplin's landmarks for Lego projects as they participate in a program called Iconic Joplin. KOAM's Yana Hautala talked with officials about the program as they were taking applications for the competition.
If you could build a local landmark, what would you build? It all started from a discussion that Lisa Nelson had with her son.
He looked at me and said, I don't really know of any. And I thought, oh, well, okay, yeah, people don't teach local history at any age.
Nelson came up with the idea to use Legos, engineering, and STEM practices as a way to help teenagers discover careers by building landmarks with Legos. She says the age group of 12 to 16-year-old middle schoolers are a crucial audience to reach.
To understand what they're interested in and give them some exposure to how they can take those interests in math and science and engineering and tech and what those careers would look like so that they can start to, in high school, create their path, whether that's to college or to a trade.
Teams of 8 will work in either public library, museum, or Creative Learning Alliance office. Teams will have a specific amount of Legos and a budget to purchase special pieces for their projects. Each team also gets to interact with professionals.
There's going to be different categories within each team, things like promotion, things like historian, things like recorder, all of those things. So it could be that a student would find a passion they didn't know they had within the project, and I hope that they do.
The teams can choose landmarks, even ones that used to exist, such as the Connor Hotel. Teams also have an opportunity to envision a future state for a landmark. This could give the city of Joplin some good ideas for what the next generation wants.
We get sort of used to doing the same thing over and over again, and through the eyes of kids, you can see things in whole different kinds of ways. And so, yeah, I would love if the city kind of came up with some of the ideas if children choose future projects and decided to see what they could do to make those a reality.
Sometimes it takes the youngest minds to reach back into the past to provide the building blocks for the future.
That competition is going to begin in December as teams gather together and start planning their projects. Deadline and judging for the projects will be in June of next year. City of Joplin today played host to some tourists from the state capitol. More than 30 members of the First Baptist Church Choir from Jefferson City were in town to visit Mercy Park and the Rotary Clubs of Joplin Sculpture Garden. The group also met with the Sculpture Garden's Board of Directors and sang for them.
Are really sad. Some of them sit there and you think they're really not even aware of what you're doing, but when we start singing, and we especially sing an old hymn that they know, you'll see their heads come up. You'll see them start mouthing the words with us. So we just hope to bring a little hope.
Choir is headed to Bentonville for more activities and performances. A little bit later, after moving to 7-0 on the season, Pitt State moves into the top 5 in the national rankings.
Plus a hard freeze rolling in for us tonight. I'm going to have those details coming up. Well, it turned out to be a much cooler day for us today. Not a bad day, sunshine, just chilly and also windy across the entire area. Now as the sun is beginning to set, we still look pretty good. We have pretty much clear skies. Lander Chevrolet on the southeast side of the Joplin Metro. Of course, it looks like we'll have clear skies throughout the overnight hours for us tonight, but freeze warnings in effect till tomorrow morning. Once we get a 1 or 2 under our belts, we won't have freeze warnings anymore, but this is the first one, of course, for the fall season, and our temperatures are going to go down into the upper 20s later on tonight, so it is going to be a cold one. In fact, right now, if you step outside, it's about 15 degrees cooler right now compared to 616 last night, so we have been cooling down. 50 in Stockton, 53 in Anderson, 54 in Miami. We have Neotershire at 54. Fort Scott is sitting at 51. So it's chilly, northerly winds, kind of ushering in that cooler air at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. And it's going to stay somewhat breezy as we go through the rest of the evening hours. 52, look at our humidity. It's at 21%, so it's super low. As we go through the rest of the evening into the overnight hours, 48 shortly by 7. 38 by midnight, 30, 6 a.m. Overnight low, right around 28 degrees later on tonight. Clear skies, nothing going on here. Clear skies across the entire Central Plains. That's what we're going to see tonight into tomorrow. We still have this big upper level low across the Great Lakes. And you can see the wind barbs coming right out of Canada. So it's pulling down that cooler Canadian air. Now, as we see this repeat in the cycle, this is going to be big Arctic snaps by the time we head into the winter months. That's why it's already so cool right now. Out to the west, weak little wave in New Mexico will stay south, but besides that, no big storm system, so we're pretty quiet over the next several days. 29 at 7 a.m., 41 by noon. Look at this, 46 by 5 p.m., high temp, only 48 degrees. So let's step through your next 48 hours. By midnight, upper 30s, and then by morning, upper 20s, even mid-20s in our northern counties. Quick warm-up through the upper 20s, 30s, into lower 40s by the noon hour. But look at our highs. We only make it into the mid to upper 40s. 47 in Stockton, 46 in Neosho, about 50 in Welch, Chanute, 48 degrees. So that's a chilly day. And then tomorrow night, we drop off even more, all the way down into the lower 20s to near 20 degrees. May even have some upper teens across the region. Let's go down the road. We're back to 80 by Saturday, Sunday near 80. Monday, we're also going to be warm, but we're going to get chances for showers and thunderstorms rolling in late Monday. Until then, we don't really have any chances for rain, and it looks like temperatures just kind of all over the place. So that's why we're going to do alert days tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning for the hard freezes, and then back to summer by the weekend.
Briefly, anyway.
Yeah, briefly, at least.
Thanks, Doug. Still ahead, the Pitt State Gorillas cracked the top 5 in this week's national rankings, and the basketball preseason is underway. We caught up with the PSU women. Danny Terzer has that and more up next.
We're a few days into the basketball preseason. The Pitt State women are on the floor today, and there's a handful of familiar faces. Pitt State returns its leading scorer in Tristan Gegg. She averaged 17.3 points per game last year. Erin Davis is also back for a 5th year. Alongside those two is a talented group of underclassmen who are eager to take on bigger roles.
I think the league's going to be pretty shocked seeing how young they are, but how skillful and developed they've become. I mean, Grace missed all of half of last season, and she's a huge threat on the court for other teams, so I'm super excited to have her have another scoring threat. Sid, she shined last year, hit those huge free throws last second. I mean, she's ice in her veins. I mean, that's about all you can say. And Corinna was obviously huge for us last year, too, and she's going to be in a bigger role even this year, and she's ready to step up.
The AFCA coaches poll was released this morning, and Pitt State has cracked the top 5. The Gorillas jump up 2 spots to rank 5th nationally in this week's poll. Pitt State is coming off a dominating win over Lincoln. They dropped 49 points in the game, tying a season high. They're now 7-0 with 4 games remaining on their regular season schedule. Next up, Pitt State hosts Missouri Western for homecoming this Saturday at 2 p.m. Carthage battled to a huge victory over Joplin on Friday. The Tigers' 34-28 win on senior night is voted this week's Performance of the Week. 2 of the top teams in their classes put on a show on Friday night in Carthage. The Tigers blocked a field goal and returned it for a touchdown with 2.5 seconds left on the clock to win the game. Quarterback Cooper Jadwin threw for 228 yards and a touchdown. His favorite target, Hudson Moore, had over 100 yards and a score, while Luke Gall led the rushing attack with 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carthage is now 7-1 with 1 game remaining. The Tigers close out the regular season on the road at Willard. Buffalo handed Kansas City its 2nd loss of the season on Sunday in a heartbreaker, 24-20. It was a battle all the way through, tied at half and tied again entering the 4th quarter. Buffalo took the lead with 1 minute to go, and then Taron Johnson picked off Patrick Mahomes in the final seconds to seal the Bills' win.
We just got to make plays down the stretch. I feel like Coach Bass put us in great positions. We just got to make plays, got to tackle. We got to get them off the field. We got them on 3rd and short, and I got a QB sneak, I believe, for a 1st down. And they kind of just kept the drive going. We just got to find a way to get stops down the stretch. Especially in games of this magnitude, it's probably the closest thing you can get to a playoff atmosphere in the regular season. So I'm really proud of the young guys stepping up when the number was called, going out there and executing the game plan, playing fast and playing confident, getting us a chance at the end to win the football game. And that's kind of what it's all about.
Commentators in that game said repeatedly it's likely these 2 teams will meet again in the playoffs, and boy, it feels that way, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I think that's more than likely. And, you know, disappointing loss for the Chiefs, but what a good football game too, and a lot of stuff to learn from, and a lot of things they did well too.
Agreed. We'll be right back. Take time now to honor a local veteran. Otto Sill served in the U.S. Air Force from 1956 to 1976. The Galena, Kansas native was stationed in Vietnam, and we are proud to salute Otto Sill, a 4-state hero. Here's a look at what's coming up on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. The Joplin City Council will decide whether to allow a Top Golf-like attraction to set up shop in the city. Plus, we're going to hear from a woman who walked across the country to raise awareness of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And the city of Joplin holds a ceremony to recognize the hard work of its employees. Those stories and a lot more tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Once again, we have a hard freeze coming tonight, Doug. I brought in the plants off of the patio today, but I forgot to unhook the water hose.
I did that today.
I'm going to do that after the 10 o'clock news tonight.
Definitely need to do that. Temperatures down into the upper 20s later on tonight, so a pretty hard freeze. Only 48 tomorrow and then down near 20 for an overnight low tomorrow night, so it gets even colder the next couple nights.
Final sports note.
Pitt State football keeps winning, and they keep climbing the national rankings as well, 5th in the country this week.
Sweet.
That's impressive. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here at 10. Let's make it a great evening.
Salon service